Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, targeting terror. Israel confirmed the elimination of key Houthi leaders and Hamas propaganda chief in IDF strikes. And solidarity in time of need. When the support of some world leaders is shifting, others take a strong stand for Israel. Plus, the fight for our children's minds and hearts. How to combat anti-Semitism from kindergarten to college. And strength to carry on. CBN Israel helps families with children battling serious illness. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. At a security cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is at a decisive moment in Gaza. He reportedly faced resistance from IDF Chief of Staff who argued to postpone the military campaign for more negotiations. In just 1 year, Israel has eliminated most Hamas leaders and many of their most dangerous enemies in the region. It has also paved the way for thousands of Israeli children in the country's north and south to return to school safely this September. Here's the latest on these and other stories. In what's described as a contentious security cabinet meeting, the IDF chief warned the takeover of Gaza City will lead to a military government and said a hostage deal should be considered. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he opposes a partial hostage deal with Hamas because it would take half a year to return to today's front lines in the face of political pressure and heavy costs. Netanyahu reportedly quoted a message from President Trump. Forget the partial deals, go in with full force and finish this. Trump told the Daily Caller Israel is losing support on Capitol Hill the longer the war goes on. As to the future of Gaza, the Washington Post reports the Trump administration has the post-war plan to make it a 10-year U.S. trusteeship and develop it into a tourism resort and manufacturing and technology hub. Gaza's 2 million citizens would be temporarily relocated to another country or into secure zones during reconstruction. Each Gazan who chooses to leave would receive a one-time payment as well as subsidies for housing and food. Secretary of State Marco Rubio dropped a diplomatic bombshell on Friday by denying visas for Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and 80 other PA officials, citing U.S. national security. The move upsets plans by France, Canada, the UK, and Australia to formally recognize a Palestinian state at a summit with PA President Abbas during the UN General Assembly later this month. The State Department said that would be a major propaganda victory for Hamas. The IDF confirmed it took out Hamas propaganda chief Abu Abaida on Saturday and released a video showing it's eliminated nearly all of Hamas's leadership. In Yemen, thousands of Houthis gathered to mourn their prime minister and nearly all government ministers who were killed in an Israeli strike last Thursday. Israel targeted the Houthi leadership after they launched a ballistic missile with a cluster bomb. This after a months-long campaign of missile and UAV strikes that sent millions of Israelis into bomb shelters. The acting Houthi prime minister remains defiant.
As the head of the Supreme Emergency Committee, I assure you that the supply situation is excellent. The flow of goods is excellent. The enemy has failed, and the armed forces are striking the enemy.
Netanyahu reminded his cabinet that Israel has carried out strikes against Iran, which he called the head of the snake, and its proxies, and will continue to do so until victory is won. As Americans celebrated Labor Day, more than 2 million Israeli children headed back to school on Monday. Among them, more than 23,000 who live in communities surrounding the Gaza Strip that was brutally attacked on October 7th. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee visited the children at Kibbutz Magen and planted a tree for the future, standing in front of a border wall constructed in the last 2 years to protect the elementary school there. He said it's a reminder that on the other side is danger, death, and darkness. But he said the children are not afraid.
This is the most wonderful day that I could have spent, is not to look into the faces of children who are afraid, but to look into the faces of children who are excited about the first day of school and to know that this wall is behind them, but their future is completely in front of them.
What a great friend of Israel he is. Well, another friend of the Jewish people to bring a strong message of solidarity at the time when many nations are turning against them is Colombia's former president, Ivan Duque Marquez. Here's our conversation during his recent visit. Mr. President, great to be with you. You're here at Shalva. Tell us about the values of Shalva and how they connect with your life as well.
Well, Chris, thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be back in Israel. And we signed today with Shalva and the foundation that we lead in Colombia with my wife, I+D Innovation for Development, an agreement, a memorandum of understanding. We share the values of humanism, we share the value of serving others, but also closing many of the social gaps through opportunity. So being in Shalva, a place that has become a reference model in innovation, in social entrepreneurship, but also giving and allowing people to have special abilities to be able to transcend, to identify how can they be useful to society is something that it only triggers admiration from myself.
Yeah. Also, right now you're here in Israel at a very difficult time for the Jewish state. Many nations are turning against Israel. What's the purpose of your visit here? Why is it so important to be here now?
Well, I've always been a friend of Israel, and I've been a friend of the Israeli people. And we have a long relationship between Israel and Colombia. I had the opportunity when I was president to sign a free trade agreement between Colombia and Israel. I also promoted to have a Colombian innovation office here in Jerusalem. And we worked to put in the terrorist list of Latin American countries, Hamas and Hezbollah. So what I promised, I delivered, and we were able to strengthen that relationship to a new level. So I feel very happy about that. And I also have to say that Israel has been fighting for its survival in the last 80 years. Since day one of the existence of the State of Israel, Israel has been fighting for its survival. So I think we have to understand that what happened in October 7th was not just a terrorist attack, was not just a brutal event of all kind of nastiness and horrendousness. What really happened was some major existential threat to the State of Israel and its people. So unless Hamas is fully destroyed, there's not going to be any possibility for long-term peace in the Gaza Strip. And I think the international community needs to understand that clearly.
You're going to be meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. What's your message to him?
I've had a very long and respectful relationship with him. I think he is not only the longest serving prime minister in the history of this country, but a man who has endured many difficult situations and complexities. And I also believe that he has a commitment towards peace. But he understands that sometimes in these existential threats, sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate, which means to get rid of all the existential threats to the State of Israel. And obviously, that's not an easy job. It's a very unpopular job, but I think he's a man that puts principles on top of popularity.
What would you say about the accusations right now that Israel's starving the people of Gaza and that there's a famine in there?
Chris, I strongly believe that there are circumstances, specific circumstances, that have to be dealt with a humanistic approach. This is not the first time this kind of situation is happening. As you know, it happened in the early 2000s. It happened then almost by 2009, 2010. It has happened during difficult moments where there is intensive conflict in Gaza. But it is clear that there has to be full control of the Gaza Strip, and in order to ensure that those existential threats that were triggered by Hamas are no longer there. And there's also another situation taking place, which is there are people that have been kidnapped, that they need to return to their families. And that is something that needs not only a huge pressure, but a huge military pressure in order to allow that to occur.
Yeah, Mr. President, any final thoughts?
Well, I'm very delighted, Chris, to bring a group of young social innovators from Colombia that are trained in the I+D Foundation to see the beautiful experience of Startup Nation and that concept, to understand the concepts of chutzpah applied to entrepreneurship, to see how this country has been able to use scarcity and adversity to become an engine of innovation. So bringing this group of leaders from the most profound areas for Colombia, have this exchange with Israel, is also a motivation for people to understand that Israel is a great reference model for the world, to see how it has transformed its economy and how it has made innovation the permanent engine of economic growth. Well, I think those are things that also should inspire young people in other parts of the planet.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it.
When we come back, Julie Stahl talks to Lori Cardoza Moore from Proclaiming Justice to the Nations about anti-Semitism seeping into our children's school books and what parents can do about it. Do you ever wonder what your kids are learning in school? Many parents may find the answer shocking. As our next guest shares, anti-Semitism isn't just on the streets or on college campuses. It is showing up in America's classrooms and in your children's textbooks. CBN's Julie Stahl finds out how it happened and what can be done about it.
I'm here with Lori Cardoza Moore. Welcome, Lori.
Julie, thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
That's good, yes. But now, in the U.S., tell us, how is anti-Semitism working its way into the school books?
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up, because this whole anti-Semitic issue that we're dealing with now in the United States, we found out about it about 13 years ago when a parent came to me. She found a textbook that had a quote that legitimized Palestinians blowing themselves up in a Jerusalem restaurant because they were waging a war against Israeli government policies and army actions. So we started to sound the alarm to work to get rid of that textbook. This was in Williamson County, Tennessee. And Julie, you know, Williamson County, Tennessee is the belt buckle of the Bible Belt. So how in the world did this get into our kids' classrooms? Well, Pearson Publishers, whose shareholders included at the time Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Libya, were the major shareholders who were paying and funding for this propaganda. So we worked with the parents in that community to get rid of the textbook. There was a school board meeting. The school board had been contacted, and there were parents and citizens at that meeting who got up and said, we want the textbook removed. It doesn't reflect our values as a community. And unfortunately, the board voted to keep the textbook. And I told them that night before they voted, I said, if you don't get rid of this textbook, we're going to get rid of all of you. This is an election year. And lo and behold, they voted to keep the textbook. And in fact, 4 months later, when it was election time, the parents rose up and we found the people to run for school board. We brought 6 school board members down.
Wow.
So this is where the anti-Semitism, because we were saying back then when we saw that quote, because it wasn't just that quote, it was also anti-Israel, anti-Judeo-Christian values, anti-America. And of course, I was saying then, if we don't get rid of this, we're going to lose our kids in America. Not only are we going to lose our kids' support for America, but we're going to lose our kids' support for Israel.
So how is anti-Semitism being taught in kindergarten through 12?
Well, you have in the kindergarten, you have books that teachers use, like P is for Palestine is one of the popular books that we've been showing, that kindergartners and first graders, teachers have access to that book to read it to the kids in their classes.
Oh,
so they're already planting the seed of pro-Palestinian against Israel. Then you get into the high school and you have these textbooks, the curriculum that's being used. You know, when we found the textbook, it wasn't just that one. I started digging through other Pearson textbooks. We went at that time to Governor, well, he was then Congressman Ron DeSantis. We showed him the content in the textbooks. When I showed it to him, he said, I'm running for governor. If I get elected, we're getting rid of Common Core, we're getting rid of these textbooks. And sure enough, he got elected, and that was the first order of business. He had a meeting, a press conference in a school. He said, I'm getting rid of textbooks, and I'm getting rid of the Common Core because somebody brought me the textbooks and showed me what was in them.
So what can what can parents do? What can people do in the U.S. to combat this rise of anti-Semitism?
Absolutely. So one of the most important things parents should do is they should be attending the school board meetings. They need to listen to what's being determined and decided for their children. The other thing is they need to look at the curriculum. They need to see what kind of textbooks. They need to have conversations with their kids. They need to ask their kids, what are you learning about in history? What are you learning about Israel? Are your teachers talking about Israel and this conflict that's going on? Because it seems like there's a conflict every week happening. So it's not like the teachers, this is not front of mind, and the teachers aren't addressing this issue with their students. We know that they are, and that's part of the problem. I mean, look at what's happening with these rallies on the college campuses.
Right.
It's not just the higher ed kids that are on the campuses. Now we have younger kids, K through 12 kids, who are rallying also against Israel and in support of a terrorist organization. That's frightening.
Yes, it is. Lori, thank you so much for your insights and call to action for people. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Still ahead, Nitzavim, arming Jewish college students with strategies for supporting Israel and Jewish life on campus. Since October 7th and the war in Gaza, many American college campuses have become hostile places for Jewish students. That's led one organization to prepare a new generation to stand tall in its identity and stand up to anti-Semitism. Take a look. Many universities across the U.S. today have become fertile ground for anti-Semitism.
They are facing tremendous opposition, even just to live, to walk around campus, just to show up as who they are, but even more so to do something Jewish or to have an impact in a Jewish way.
That's what Nitzavim Fellowship and Jewish Year Abroad intend to help students change.
The idea of our whole organization is to try to get as many kids to come to Israel for study abroad during their gap year, and then to empower them with the tools and the excitement to go onto college campus and to make the biggest difference for Israel and the Jewish people they can.
They're off to secular universities, 32 of them. They've got 24 different programs that they're going to be implementing around the country in these secular universities to potentially have an impact on 12,500 Jewish students to help them to strengthen their Jewish identity, their commitment, and their continuity.
And this is the fourth year that we've been running Nitzavim, and it gets bigger and bigger every year.
Hebrew University's Ronit Lavi leads undergraduates at the Rothberg International School.
They have a teacher, a professor, who teaches the course, and they talk about how to tackle anti-Semitism on secular campuses in the U.S. when they go back. Even after October 7th, it's even more a necessity of dealing with it on campus. Making sure that fellow students who aren't Jewish get to know a little bit more about Jews and what it is to be Jewish and about Israel and all the good things about Israel and about the Jewish community.
CBN News first talked to students in the Nitzavim program last year and asked Rabbi Isaacs about their challenge on hostile campuses.
When they got onto campus with all the preparation, they said it was still shocking. They were ready. As soon as the first encampment opens, they knew to stand on the side with the Israeli flag. They knew to contact security whenever they had issues. They weren't scared, they were confident and ready to step up when they needed to.
Elisa Ben Shalom, the Jewish matchmaker seen on Netflix, planned to bring joy to this evening's showcase.
My role tonight is the MC. I gotta get the energy up. I gotta get people pumped up and excited, happy to be there. And nobody's gonna sit in their chair like this, like, oh, when is it over? They're gonna be like, oh, that was amazing.
Hebrew University Jerusalem hosted Nitzavim Shark Tank style showcase. These gap year high school students pitched bold ideas on how they would strengthen Jewish life on college campuses. The first prize, $5,000. Ben Goodman won this year for developing an education app for Jewish students.
I wish that I can take this to insane heights, and I wish to hopefully impact the college Jewish community. And I hope not just because I'm going to NYU. I don't want to take this just to NYU. I want to take this to all schools around America.
Five-time national marathon champion B.T. Deutsch and Israeli real estate developer Hani Horowitz helped judge the competition.
I see American girls, American boys with so much enthusiasm that they are proud of being Jewish. I'm amazed. I'm amazed from, all the work that they were done. The guy who took the $5,000 came out. I said, why he's going to college? I would take him to my company. He was so ready with this presentation. Everything was so clear. And he got all the questions and the answers.
I thought tonight was incredible. I really believe in investing in the future of the Jewish people, our student leaders. I loved the energy. The vibes are amazing. You saw passion, you saw excitement, you saw students that want to make a difference. And in a world that can feel really negative and really hard to just keep going on, this gave me so much hope.
Tonight for me is a time where we can just come together and be Jewish people doing Jewish things and having a bigger vision and a dream to impact the world for the greatest good. That's our vision as the Jewish people. We want to be a light unto the nations.
Thank God they're not sheep going to a lion's den. Okay, they're tigers. They're ready for the battle. They're equipped with advocacy skills. They're equipped with how to answer anti-Semitism. They're equipped with being able to strengthen Jewish students on campus who are intimidated, afraid, not what to do. They're set up to create entry points for them to have fellowship together, to strengthen each other that way. So they're really frontline people that are going to fight this battle.
Coming up next, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Take a look at the difference a joy and fun-filled day makes for families with children battling illness. Anyone who's experienced a life-threatening illness knows about the drain it can be on your spirit. It's especially real to families with children battling cancer. A charity called Larger Than Life has partnered with Israel Railway and CBN Israel to give that most precious thing to these families, a day of fun. It's the annual Smile Train event, and CBN partners are helping to make it happen.
Every year during the Jewish Festival of Purim, the Smile Train leaves the station. This is no ordinary trip. Hundreds of children battling cancer and their families board for a day of pure celebration in Beersheba. It's a chance to step away from treatment and into a world of fun. A world built through the collaboration of CBN Israel, Israel Railway, and the charity Larger Than Life.
On this day, there is an opportunity for children, parents, brothers, fathers, for the whole family to be together, to take a break, take a day off, and enjoy a fun family day. They don't have to worry about anything. They come to a party, they have snacks, they have sweets, they have games. They have a train decorated just for them. They come to Beersheba where we have different shows and amazing food with catering. There are a lot of amazing partners who brought us here and helped to create this event. One of our very important partners is CBN Israel. They have been helping us and guiding us, and CBN has been supporting us in every way.
For many of these families, a day like this is a rare gift. Between ongoing treatments and hospital visits, it may be the only chance they have to truly be a family again.
Sagiv had brain cancer. We discovered it a little bit before he was 5 years old. He's still learning to walk. He's dealing with all sorts of consequences of his illness, to walk, to talk. He's had to learn everything from scratch. I just see my kids and they're very, very happy. They're running around here, dancing, eating, like they're having a lot of fun. And sometimes the best cure is a little bit to enjoy and to have fun, because it gives you strength to carry on with the consequences of his illness. Thank you. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us.
We really want to thank CBN Israel for the cooperation and the strong bond between us, for the desire to understand what our needs are and what children really want and need. And that is why CBN has been responsible for food and nutrition for all humanitarian needs. So thank you very much. Thank you for all this mentoring and cooperation. Together with you, the sky is the limit. We'll continue to do a lot together. Thank you.
That's a great story. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. And please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem, for protection for Israel, and that all the hostages would be brought home safely and soon. I'm Chris Mitchell. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.